The Samsung Galaxy S6, one of the first modern phones I've ever owned, specifically both a gold and an onyx black model. My gold model met an unfortunate fate when I accidentally dropped it back first onto the concrete floor of my garage a few months into owning it. Even though the phone was a protective case, both the back and the fragile AMOLED screen that was under the front glass shattered. Amazingly, my Onyx Black S6 is still working today, although with a few cosmetic issues and a couple replaced parts, along with a small crack on the front screen and the coloured coating on the front LCD delaminating. I recently had to replace the battery in this phone after it stopped working entirely a year or two back. It had just been sitting in a drawer untouched until a week or so ago I decided to finally get it fixed and to get the battery replaced with an quote-unquote OEM battery I found on eBay for £10. Replacement batteries for this phone are actually surprisingly hard to come by nowadays considering the age of the phone. I did end up breaking my original back cover while doing this, but the amount of replacements online and how cheap they are, it doesn't really make me feel that bad. I got a replacement back for around £3 British on eBay. Either way, I have the Exynos version of this phone, the G920F to be specific. Either way, let's get into some benchmarks. The benchmark that I use for the Galaxy S6 is Passmark. The S6 got an overall score of 5,378 for the CPU tests, a score of 6,464 for the memory tests, a disk score of 0, which I'll be ignoring because I think that's a bug with the app, and a 2D graphics score of 4,251 and a 3D graphics test score of 12,534. This is quite good considering that is a 5+ year old phone at the time of recording. When compared to my Galaxy A70, it absolutely crushes the scores of the S6, but that is quite expected. My personal Galaxy A70 got a score of 15,927, a score of 17,239, a 2D graphics score of 25,176, and a 3D graphics score of 23,297. You can clearly see the increase in performance over the past 5 years, and the Galaxy A70 isn't even a high-end phone, more of a lower mid-end. The Galaxy S6 is still a perfectly usable phone if you can get a custom firmware working and aren't playing highest resolution games. The Galaxy S6 I have is running Lineage OS 15.1, which affect the benchmark scores a small amount, but not as far as I've been able to notice. If anything, it's been faster while running Lineage OS than when it was running the stock ROM. Lineage OS 15.1 is based on Android 8.1 Oreo, which is quite modern if you're not bothered about the latest features or specs or anything. The camera on the Galaxy S6 is still perfectly usable today. I even use this phone for some of my streams over on Twitch. Go follow me there, Hello World Computing. One of the few downsides of this phone is how hot it gets. When I'm doing anything, whenever I'm not doing anything CPU intensive, I have my CPU downclocked to approximately 800 MHz from its maximum 1500 or so. I'm personally not surprised that my old battery failed in the way that it did, considering that the heat this thing puts out. I've seen battery temps reach 60 degrees Celsius while flashing a ROM or something else intensive. Although overall I'd definitely still recommend this phone for a kid or someone who just needs a cheap long-term phone, well, short-term phone really. Although you would definitely want a good case for it as it can be quite fragile. Anyway, this has been Ezra, stay safe and I'll see you all later.